I'm not talking about being passive. I'm not talking about being weak or indifferent. I'm talking about developing an inner fortress of peace that becomes your greatest source of power. You see, most people have it backwards. They think calmness is what you do when there's nothing going on. But I'm here to tell you that true calmness is what you develop so you can handle everything that's going on. Think about this for a moment. In nature, what do we see? The mightiest oak tree doesn't fight the storm, it bends with it, stays rooted, and emerges stronger. The deepest lakes are also the calmest on the surface. The most powerful rivers flow with quiet determination, carving through mountains not with violence, but with persistent, calm pressure. Nature teaches us that true strength often wears the face of calmness. But here's what most people don't understand about developing calmness as a strength. They think it's something you're born with or without. They think it's a personality trait that some people have and others don't. Let me tell you something, that's absolutely wrong. Calmness is a skill. It's a discipline. It's something you can develop, cultivate, and strengthen just like you would develop your muscles in a gym. The first thing we must understand is that calmness begins with a fundamental shift in how we view challenges. Most people see problems as interruptions to their peace. But what if I told you that problems are actually the gym equipment for your calmness? Every difficult situation, every stressful moment, every crisis is actually an opportunity to strengthen your calm response. Just like you can't build physical strength without resistance, you can't build emotional strength without challenge. I learned this lesson early in my business career when I was struggling to make ends meet. I remember those days when bill collectors were calling, when deals were falling through, when everything seemed to be going wrong. My natural response was panic, worry, and frantic activity. But my mentor at the time said something that changed my life. He said, "Jim, your current level of stress is directly proportional to your current level of skills. Develop better skills and you'll naturally develop more calmness." That's when I realized that calmness isn't the absence of problems, it's the presence of skills. When you know what to do, when you've prepared yourself mentally and emotionally, when you've developed the right philosophies and strategies, you naturally become calmer. It's not that the storms stop coming, it's that you become better at sailing through them. Now, let me share with you the foundational principle of developing calmness as a strength. It starts with what I call philosophical preparation. You see, most people wait until they're in the middle of a crisis to start thinking about how to handle it. That's like waiting until you're drowning to learn how to swim. The time to develop your philosophy of calmness is right now, when things are relatively peaceful, so that philosophy can serve you when things get tough. Your philosophy is your internal guidance system. It's the set of principles and beliefs that determine how you respond to life's events. If your philosophy is that life should be easy and problems shouldn't happen, you'll never develop calmness because you'll always be fighting reality. But if your philosophy is that life is a series of lessons designed to help you grow stronger, wiser, and more capable, then every challenge becomes an opportunity to practice your calmness. I want you to think about the people you most admire. Think about the leaders, the successful entrepreneurs, the great athletes, the wise teachers. What do they all have in common? They all possess what I call calm confidence. They don't get rattled easily. They don't make decisions from a place of panic or fear. They've learned to access their best thinking especially when the pressure is on. This calm confidence doesn't happen by accident. It's developed through deliberate practice, just like any other skill. And the beautiful thing about developing calmness as a strength is that it creates a positive spiral in your life. The calmer you become, the better decisions you make. The better decisions you make, the better results you get. The better results you get, the more confident you become. And the more confident you become, the calmer you remain in the face of new challenges. But here's where most people get it wrong. They try to develop calmness by avoiding stressful situations. They think if they can just eliminate all the problems from their life, they'll naturally become calm. But that's like trying to become physically strong by avoiding all physical challenges. You don't develop strength by avoiding resistance. You develop strength by learning to handle resistance with grace and power. The key is to start small and build gradually. You don't begin by trying to stay calm during a major life crisis. You begin by practicing calmness during minor irritations. When you're stuck in traffic, instead of letting frustration build, you use that as an opportunity to practice breathing deeply and accepting what you cannot control. When someone cuts in line at the store, instead of getting annoyed, you see it as a chance to practice patience and perspective. These small moments of practice are like deposits in your calmness account. Every time you choose a calm response over a reactive one, you're making an investment in your future ability to handle bigger challenges with grace. It's like compound interest for your emotional strength. Small, consistent investments create massive long-term returns. Now, let me share with you one of the most powerful techniques I've discovered for developing calmness. I call it the observer mind. Most of the time, we're completely identified with our thoughts and emotions. When we're angry, we don't think I'm experiencing anger. We think I am angry. When we're stressed, we don't think I'm having stressful thoughts. We think I am stressed. But there's another level of consciousness available to you, the part of you that can observe your thoughts and emotions without being controlled by them. This observer mind is naturally calm because it's not caught up in the drama of the moment. It's like being in the eye of the hurricane. There's chaos all around, but in the center there's perfect stillness. Developing this observer mind takes practice, but it's one of the most valuable skills you can cultivate. When you feel stress beginning to build, instead of being swept away by it, you can step back mentally and observe it. Interesting, you might think, I notice I'm having stressful thoughts right now. I wonder what this situation is trying to teach me. This simple shift from being your emotions to observing your emotions creates space to choose your response rather than simply reacting automatically. And in that space lies your power to develop unshakable calmness. Another crucial element in developing calmness as a strength is understanding the difference between what you can control and what you cannot control. Most of our stress and anxiety comes from trying to control things that are outside our influence while neglecting the things that are completely within our power. You cannot control the economy, but you can control your response to economic changes. You cannot control other people's behavior, but you can control how you interact with them. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can absolutely control what you do with what happens to you. When you focus your energy on what you can control and accept what you cannot, calmness becomes natural. I've noticed that truly calm people have developed what I call selective attention. They've learned to focus on what matters and let go of what doesn't. They don't get caught up in every piece of drama or crisis that presents itself. They've developed the wisdom to distinguish between what's urgent and what's important, between what requires their immediate attention and what can be delegated or ignored altogether. This selective attention is like having a high-quality filter for your mind. Just as a water filter removes impurities while allowing clean water to flow through, your mental filter removes unnecessary stress and worry while allowing important information and opportunities to reach your consciousness. Building on this concept, let me share with you the importance of preparation in developing calmness. The Boy Scout motto, "Be prepared," isn't just good advice for camping trips. It's a fundamental principle for developing unshakable calm. When you're prepared, you naturally feel more confident and calm. When you're unprepared, even small challenges can feel overwhelming. Preparation comes in many forms. There's practical preparation, having emergency funds saved, keeping your skills current, maintaining good health and fitness. There's mental preparation, thinking through potential challenges and developing response strategies before you need them. And there's emotional preparation, developing the inner resources of patience, acceptance, and resilience that will serve you in difficult times. I learned the power of preparation during my early days in sales. I used to get extremely nervous before important presentations because I was never fully prepared. I would wing it, hoping my natural enthusiasm would carry me through. But winging it is the enemy of calmness. When you're not prepared, you're always operating from a place of insecurity and anxiety. Then I learned to prepare not just my presentation, but my mind. I would anticipate potential objections and prepare responses. I would visualize the meeting going well, but also visualize handling difficulties with grace. I would arrive early to familiarize myself with the environment. This preparation didn't guarantee success, but it guaranteed that I could remain calm and access my best thinking regardless of what happened. The same principle applies to every area of life. the more prepared you are, the calmer you can remain when challenges arise. And here's the beautiful thing about preparation. It's completely within your control. You may not be able to control what problems come your way, but you can absolutely control how well prepared you are to handle them. Now, let's talk about the role of acceptance in developing calmness. This is perhaps one of the most misunderstood concepts in personal development. When I talk about acceptance, I'm not talking about resignation or giving up. I'm talking about accepting reality as it is right now so that you can work effectively to change what can be changed. Resistance to reality is one of the greatest sources of stress and anxiety. When we fight against what is, we waste enormous amounts of mental, emotional energy that could be better used to create positive change. It's like being in a river and fighting against the current. You exhaust yourself without making any real progress. Acceptance, on the other hand, is like learning to work with the current. You acknowledge the direction the river is flowing, and then you use that knowledge to navigate effectively. You might still end up in a different place than where the river was naturally taking you, but you get there with much less effort and much more grace. I remember a particularly challenging period in my business when several major deals fell through simultaneously. My first reaction was to fight against this reality, to be angry, to blame others, to resist the situation. But resistance only made me more stressed and less effective. It wasn't until I accepted that this was my current reality that I could begin to think clearly about how to move forward. Acceptance doesn't mean you like what's happening. It doesn't mean you approve of it or that you won't work to change it. It simply means you acknowledge what is true right now, and from that place of acknowledgement you can make clear-headed decisions about your next steps. This brings us to another crucial aspect of developing calmness, the power of the present moment. Most of our stress and anxiety comes from either dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. But life only happens in the present moment. Your power to act, to choose, to respond, all of that exists only in the now. When you learn to anchor your attention in the present moment, you naturally become calmer. The present moment by itself is rarely as overwhelming as our thoughts about the past and future make it seem. Right now, as you're reading these words, are you actually in danger? Are you actually facing an insurmountable crisis? Most likely, right now in this moment, you're safe and capable of handling whatever is immediately in front of you. The practice of present moment awareness is like having a reset button for your nervous system. No matter how stressed or anxious you become, you can always return to the present moment and find your center again. This takes practice, but it's a skill that pays dividends throughout your entire life. Let me share with you a technique I use regularly to anchor myself in the present moment. I call it the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. When I notice my mind spinning with worry or stress, I deliberately engage my senses by identifying 5 things I can see, 4 things I can touch, 3 things I can hear, 2 things I can smell, and 1 thing I can taste. This simple exercise immediately brings my attention back to the present moment and interrupts the cycle of anxious thinking. Another powerful element in developing calmness is understanding the relationship between your breath and your emotional state. Your breath is unique among your bodily functions. It operates automatically, but you can also control it consciously. This makes it a perfect bridge between your conscious and unconscious mind, between your voluntary and involuntary responses. When you're stressed or anxious, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid, but here's the remarkable thing: you can reverse this process. By deliberately slowing and deepening your breath, you can send a signal to your nervous system that all is well. You can literally breathe yourself into a calmer state. I've made deep conscious breathing a daily practice, not just something I do during stressful moments. Just like you might exercise your body regularly to maintain physical fitness, I exercise my breathing to maintain emotional fitness. This daily practice makes it much easier to access calm breathing when I really need it. The power of conscious breathing extends beyond just managing stress in the moment. Regular practice actually rewires your nervous system to be less reactive and more resilient. It's like giving your nervous system a daily massage, keeping it relaxed and flexible rather than tight and reactive. Now let's explore the connection between calmness and decision making. One of the greatest benefits of developing calmness as a strength is that it dramatically improves the quality of your decisions. When you're stressed, anxious, or reactive, you're operating from the most primitive parts of your brain, the parts designed for survival, not for complex problem solving. But when you're calm, you have access to your highest levels of thinking. You can see situations more clearly, consider more options, and make decisions based on wisdom rather than fear. This is why the most successful people in every field have learned to cultivate calmness. Not because they don't face challenges, but because they've learned to face challenges from their most resourceful state of mind. Good decision-making requires patience, and patience is impossible without calmness. In our instant gratification culture, we're conditioned to want immediate answers and quick fixes. But the best decisions often require time to consider, time to gather information, time to let our intuition speak. Calmness gives you the patience to make decisions from wisdom rather than impulse. I've noticed that some of my best business decisions were made during periods when I felt most centered and calm. Conversely, some of my worst decisions were made when I was feeling pressured, stressed, or reactive. This isn't a coincidence. It's a reflection of the direct relationship between your internal state and your external results. This brings us to the concept of what I call calm leadership. Whether you're leading a business, a family, or just your own life, your level of calmness directly impacts your effectiveness as a leader. People are naturally drawn to calm, confident energy. They instinctively trust and want to follow someone who remains centered in the face of challenges. Calm leaders create calm environments. When you maintain your composure during difficult times, you give others permission to do the same. Your calmness becomes contagious, spreading to everyone around you. This creates a positive feedback loop. As the people around you become calmer, your environment becomes more peaceful, which makes it easier for you to maintain your own calmness. But calm leadership isn't about being emotionless or disconnected. True calm comes from being deeply connected to your values, your purpose, and your long-term vision. When you know who you are and where you're going, external circumstances have less power to knock you off balance. This connection to purpose is crucial for developing sustainable calmness. When your actions are aligned with your deepest values and most important goals, you naturally feel more centered and peaceful. It's when we're out of alignment, when we're doing things that don't match our values or pursuing goals that don't really matter to us, that we feel most stressed and fragmented. I encourage you to spend time regularly connecting with your core values and your long-term vision. What really matters to you? What kind of person do you want to become? What kind of impact do you want to have on the world? When you're clear on these fundamental questions, it becomes much easier to maintain your calm in the face of temporary setbacks and challenges. Another key aspect of developing calmness is learning to manage your mental diet. Just as the food you eat affects your physical health, the information you consume affects your mental and emotional health. If you constantly expose yourself to negative news, gossip, and drama, you'll find it much more difficult to maintain a calm state of mind. This doesn't mean you should ignore reality or avoid all challenging information. But it does mean being selective about what you allow into your consciousness, especially during your most vulnerable times. I start each day with positive, inspiring input, whether it's reading something uplifting, listening to educational content, or spending time in nature. This sets a foundation of calm that serves me throughout the day. The same principle applies to the people you spend time with. Some people are natural stress carriers. They seem to create drama and chaos wherever they go. Others are natural peace bringers. They have a calming, centering influence on everyone around them. While you can't always choose who you interact with, you can choose how much time and energy you invest in different relationships. Surrounding yourself with calm, positive people isn't just pleasant, it's practical. These relationships support your own development of calmness and provide models of how to handle challenges with grace. They also offer the emotional support that makes it easier to maintain your composure during difficult times. Let's talk about the role of physical health in developing calmness. Your mind and body are intimately connected, and your physical state directly impacts your emotional state. When you're tired, hungry, or physically run down, it's much more difficult to maintain mental and emotional equilibrium. Regular exercise is one of the most powerful tools for developing calmness. Physical activity releases tension, reduces stress hormones, and produces endorphins that naturally improve your mood. But beyond these immediate benefits, regular exercise builds confidence and resilience that carry over into all areas of your life. The type of exercise matters less than the consistency. Whether it's walking, swimming, dancing, or lifting weights, find something you enjoy and can do regularly. The key is to make physical activity a non-negotiable part of your routine, just like eating or sleeping. Similarly, proper nutrition plays a crucial role in maintaining emotional stability. Blood sugar fluctuations from poor eating habits can create mood swings and make it difficult to maintain calm responses to stress. Eating regular, balanced meals helps maintain the steady energy levels that support emotional equilibrium. Sleep is equally important. When you're well rested, you have the energy reserves needed to handle challenges calmly. When you're sleep deprived, even minor irritations can feel overwhelming. Prioritizing good sleep hygiene isn't just about physical recovery. It's about maintaining the mental and emotional resources you need to respond to life from your best self. Now, let me address something that many people struggle with, the difference between calmness and indifference. Some people think that developing calmness means becoming detached or uncaring. But true calmness actually allows you to care more deeply and love more fully because you're not constantly caught up in your own emotional reactions. When you're calm, you can be present with others in their pain without being overwhelmed by it. You can offer support and assistance without getting pulled into drama. You can maintain your own center while still being compassionate and engaged with the world around you. This is what I call detached involvement, being fully engaged with life while not being attached to specific outcomes. You care deeply, you give your best effort, but you're not devastated when things don't go exactly as planned. This balance between caring and letting go is essential for both effectiveness and peace of mind. The cultivation of calmness also requires what I call philosophical flexibility. Life is constantly changing, and our strategies and approaches must evolve accordingly. People who are rigid in their thinking and inflexible in their methods create unnecessary stress for themselves and others. Calm people have learned to hold their plans lightly. They're committed to their goals and values, but flexible about their methods. When one approach isn't working, they can adapt without getting frustrated or giving up entirely. This flexibility is actually a sign of strength, not weakness. I think of it like being a river flowing toward the ocean. The river is absolutely committed to reaching its destination, but it's completely flexible about the path it takes. When it encounters a mountain, it doesn't try to fight through it, it flows around it. When it meets a boulder, it flows over or around it. The river maintains its essential nature and purpose while adapting to whatever circumstances it encounters. This metaphor points to another crucial aspect of calmness, persistence without resistance. Calm people are often incredibly persistent, but their persistence comes from a place of flowing determination rather than fighting force. They keep moving toward their goals, but they do so with grace and adaptability rather than rigid force. Let me share with you the concept of emotional aikido. In the martial art of aikido, instead of meeting force with force, you learn to redirect the energy of an attack and use it to your advantage. The same principle can be applied to emotional challenges. Instead of fighting against difficult emotions or trying to suppress them, you can learn to acknowledge them, understand their message, and redirect their energy in positive directions. For example, when you feel anger, instead of either exploding or suppressing it, you can use that energy to fuel positive action. When you feel fear, instead of being paralyzed by it, you can use it as information about what you need to prepare for or address. When you feel sadness, instead of being overwhelmed by it, you can use it to deepen your compassion and connection with others. This approach to emotions requires practice and patience, but it's incredibly powerful. Instead of being at the mercy of your emotions, you become their wise guide. You don't deny or suppress them, but you don't let them control your behavior either. The development of calmness also involves learning to trust the process of life. Many of our stress and anxiety comes from trying to control outcomes that are ultimately beyond our control. But when you develop trust in the process, trust that challenges are opportunities for growth, trust that setbacks are temporary, trust that you have the resources to handle whatever comes your way, you can relax into life rather than fighting against it. This trust isn't naive optimism or wishful thinking. It's based on evidence from your own life experience. Think about the challenges you faced in the past. How many of them seemed overwhelming at the time but ultimately led to growth, learning, or new opportunities? How many problems that seemed permanent eventually resolved themselves? How many times have you surprised yourself with your ability to handle difficult situations? Building this trust requires paying attention to your own resilience and resourcefulness. Keep a record of the challenges you've overcome, the skills you've developed, the strength you've shown in difficult times. This isn't about ego or pride, it's about building realistic confidence in your ability to handle whatever life brings your way. As we near the end of our time together, let me emphasize that developing calmness as a strength is not a destination, it's a journey. There's no point at which you'll have mastered calmness and never feel stressed or challenged again. Life will continue to present new situations that test your composure and require you to grow. But that's actually the beauty of this journey. Each challenge becomes an opportunity to deepen your calmness, to refine your skills, to expand your capacity for peace. Like a muscle that grows stronger with resistance, your calmness grows stronger with practice and challenge. The key is to approach this development with patience and self-compassion. You'll have days when you handle challenges with perfect grace, and you'll have days when you react in ways you wish you hadn't. Both are part of the process. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. What matters is that you're committed to the journey, that you're willing to learn from every experience, and that you're patient with yourself as you develop this most valuable of all strengths. Remember, every master was once a beginner, and every expert was once a student. In closing, let me remind you that developing calmness as a strength is one of the greatest gifts you can give not only to yourself but to everyone whose life you touch. Your calmness becomes a sanctuary for others, a source of stability in an uncertain world, a demonstration that it's possible to live with grace and peace regardless of external circumstances. The world needs more calm-centered people. It needs more individuals who can think clearly under pressure, who can respond rather than react, who can maintain their composure while working for positive change. By developing calmness as your strength, you're not just improving your own life, you're contributing to the collective peace and wisdom of humanity. So I challenge you today to begin this journey in earnest. Start with small practices, conscious breathing, present moment awareness, choosing calm responses to minor challenges. Build your philosophical foundation with study and reflection. Take care of your physical health as a foundation for emotional stability. Surround yourself with positive influences and nurturing relationships. Most importantly, be patient with yourself and trust the process. Calmness is your birthright, your natural state when you're not caught up in the drama and chaos of life. You don't have to create it from nothing, you simply have to remove the obstacles that prevent it from emerging naturally. The time to begin is now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when things calm down in your life, because things may never calm down completely. The time to develop calmness as your strength is right now in the midst of whatever challenges you're facing with whatever resources you currently have available. Your future self is counting on the choices you make today. Your family, your colleagues, your community, they're all waiting for the gift of your calmness. The world is waiting for you to step into your full power as a centered, peaceful, unshakable human being. The journey begins with a single step, a single breath, a single moment of choosing calm over chaos. Take that step now and keep taking it one moment at a time, one choice at a time, one breath at a time. Your life and the lives of everyone around you will never be the same.